we should probably get started. So thank you everybody for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Webinar, of course, is to be focused in on listening from a local business in Brisbane. So wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us today, or the country, I should say. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen across for everybody. Now, a bit of housekeeping before we do get started in today's webinar. We are going to try and keep questions to the end of the session, just so that the flow of the session, I guess, it will flow a lot nicer. And then any questions that are picked up, I guess I will kind of mediate questions towards the end of the session. So please use the chat box if you do have questions. If you want to direct it specifically at one of the panelists today, that's perfectly fine. But if you can use that, and then towards the end of the session, I'll have a look read through and see if there's any questions there that we've missed or that maybe haven't necessarily been directly answered. So without further ado, my name's Stuart Hunter. I guess I've worked at Futurely for a number of years. A lot of you may know me today or have seen my face around at roadshows and whatnot. So I guess I'm going to be a bit of a mediator today, and I'm pleased to say that we're joined today by Adam Poric, who is a founder of the Total Football Academy, and today we are also lucky to have his, I guess, advisor, Michele Romano, who's from Moschillo Romano, which is a firm out of the Eastern Brisbane CBD. So, gentlemen, if you'd like to make a little bit of an introduction.
Hey guys, Adam Poric here. I'm the owner of Total Football Academy and CEO of the Magic Group. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, so Michele Romano, Moschillo Romano Accountants, Brisbane, Gold Coast. We've done a fair bit of work with Futurely over the past probably 5, 6, 7 years now. So great business to be part of, and obviously looking after Adam and Total Football Academy Magic United Group. It's just been, obviously a lot of interesting situations happening in the last, call it a couple of months. But I'm sure we'll go through all that today. So thanks, Stuart, for having us.
Thank you. Now, I do just need to address one small change in the lineup today. We were expecting Canio, who is one of the other partners of the firm, to be hosting or be representative of Muro today. Unfortunately, he is a bit unwell and was unable to attend this morning. So, yeah, we were lucky enough that Michele was also available. So thank you for jumping in on short notice. Much appreciated.
No worries.
Now, I'm just going to move in, and Adam, I'm probably going to start by just kind of handing over to you. For the purpose of the audience, I think the way that the webinar should flow today, or this conversation, is, of course, really understand the background of the business, I guess, what kind of prompted you to get started, and understand the relationship that you've had with Muro over those years. And then we'll slowly move into kind of the pre kind of COVID, and then the crux of the COVID impact that your business has had to kind of deal with and manage. And then I guess the learnings that you've taken from that journey that you've been on over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And of course, any advice or insights that you could share with people who run similar businesses that they might take away from today. So that's a bit of a rough flow of today. So yeah, Adam, over to you.
No problem as well. Obviously, as you can see there, it's shows that I was a professional footballer back in the day. So that's really all I ever did. I've never had a real job, so to speak. So I got into football when I was 3 years of age. My dad pushed me into it and found I had a bit of talent, and then carried on. By the time I was 16, I'd played in the Youth World Cup, and by the time I was 18, I was playing in the English Premier League. Unfortunately, I blew my knees out quite young, and I was retired by the time of 26 in professional sport. Came back to Australia, and then bounced around a little bit in the old NSL, which is the current A-League. Lasted about 10 games before the knees packed it in altogether, and then that was it. And then in 2000, I was unsure of what I was doing. I probably spent about 2 years doing nothing at all, just living off whatever I'd earned and drinking myself crazy, and decided, well, now's the time to do something. And it was just a friend of mine had his son that wanted some personal training and asked me if I'd do some. And I just went, you know what, yeah, I'll do it as a favour, I'll have a look. And he brought his son down and another kid by the name of Tommy Orr. So Tommy Orr went on to play for Australia and been to 3 World Cups and had a distinguished career in football after that. And look, I'm not taking credit for Tommy Orr by all sense, but that were the two first kids that I did any kind of training with outside of that. And then sort of from there, we ended up doing 2-3 weeks where it was just those two. And then 2 weeks after that, there was about 20 other kids down there. And I just thought, you know what, well, I'll get some beer money out of this and charge them a tenner each. And the next minute we have more and more. So then, I decided to approach some of the local schools and start doing some school training sessions. And then one thing evolved into another. And 20 years later, here I am with no real education and stumbled my way through the last 20 years to get here and sort of now working out actually how the business sort of works and move forward from there. Probably 10 years ago is when I met Kanyo and McKeely. I think it's around 10 years ago. That's right, McKeely, yeah?
Oh, I think probably more than that. It goes back about 14, 15 years. I think your lovely wife there was our bank manager at the time, I think. And when she told us who her husband was, we were like drooling at the mouth and going, oh, okay, well, we've got to meet this guy. We've got to get out there and help him out. So I think that's where the relationship started.
Yeah, that's right. And you'll find my timelines are terrible because my memory is absolutely shot to pieces. But we've had a good relationship. We've had our ups and downs, and I'd have to say that our downs were down, and the one beauty, and I've never really said it to McKeely, I'm happy to say it now, is that he's stuck by me and brought in people that service my business like 100%. I couldn't recommend them any higher right now than what I do right now. The people that he's brought in, the strategies that he's put in place, and and I can pick up the phone and get hold of somebody instead of someone's going to call me back. It's been excellent. So
thanks very much, Adam. I'll pay you later off for that one.
Yeah. And then after 15 years, I've never even said one good word about him, and here I am blabbing on about a few good words. But yeah, that's sort of where Total Football Academy went to. I went into schools, and then I run my own club now. I've got 2 clubs: Gold Coast Knights, who play in the Premier League, which is the second highest comp in Australia. The National Premier League, National Premier League, yeah. And then we've got Magic United, which is our signature club. It plays in the local league. We're just in negotiations now with Wynnum Wolves to take over their football operations. And there's a few other clubs that we're discussing now as well. So where we had a pandemic and everything was doom and gloom, I think just because of my nature and the way I am, I sort of saw that there is a bit of a silver lining in all of this disaster that could suit us well. So now we're just putting strategies in place on how we actually get maximise all the stuff that's going on to our advantage.
Yeah, okay.
I think. Sorry to cut in. I think to your credit too, Adam. I mean, obviously the way you've operated out of Magic and the setup and the professionalism. I mean, that's I go back to grassroots football as well, and I've played all my life. But the thing is, you need to have professionalism in these clubs, and by you sort of venturing out now into other clubs like the Wynnums and so forth, that's what I think is required and needed, obviously, to lift our game. So hat off to you, mate.
Thank you.
Nice. Well, look, that's certainly an interesting journey that you've been on, Adam. So before we go too far forward and start looking at the other side of COVID and some obviously really exciting plans that you've been able to identify, because I think in other health related kind of business models, those opportunities are going to be there for people who have the right guidance behind them, the right mindset, and obviously the right structure and financial support. Moving from kind of starting on your own, training a couple of individuals and then slowly starting to onboard or get more of a regular customer base, which would be, I guess, by the sounds of it, initially kind of younger children, people in school who wanted, and some more focused kind of soccer training. How did the business start? Was it just you? Did you kind of have any support as you kind of went through the ingredients?
First of all, it was me. I started off with a bag of balls and some cones and some bibs, and away we went. And into the schools, and then from there I had a partner that sort of joined in, which I then bought out pretty quickly because it just one was putting all the work in, the other one was sitting on his hands, and I just sort of went, well, I'm not going to pay 50% for someone sitting on his hands, so I ended up buying it outright, which I should have done at the start, to be honest. And then from there I had a vision of bringing coaches in from the UK to that were like-minded to what I thought I wanted in kids football.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I went out there and met up with my number 2, Andy Robinson, who's been with me now going on since 2009. So
Wow.
it's been quite a while. And he came out here to start off with on, I think it was $40 a session. So he picked up from the UK, $40 a session. No guaranteed how many sessions we'd have. And he had a clear vision of what he wanted to accomplish. He liked the vision that I had, and we've been together ever since. So that sort of turned out all right. From schools, then we operated our own club, and I think the key for us moving forward, the schools were good, but the schools were they generated an income, so we couldn't really go any higher than where we were at the schools. We were probably 10 years before our time doing all the school market. And now we're sort of like the schools are coming back to where we thought they should have been 10 years ago. So we're a director of coaching in schools. We've got massive contracts inside of those schools now to provide all their coaches and staff and look after all their kids. So that's a big one. Then the club sort of came along. We got an opportunity to take over a club. Taking that over put us in good stead, but we didn't realise that the club had 40,000 in debt. There was a lot of hidden costs that were, we had people turning up saying, they ordered trophies from us 3 years ago and we haven't been paid. So, we had all that kind of stuff to deal with, but we got through that. And now we're probably in the forefront of everybody. Like, our main competitor now is, when we do our analysis is the FFA and Football Queensland and Football Gold Coast. They're sort of our main competitors. From the competitors behind us, there's a country mile. What we do compared to everybody else is very different. So that's sort of where we're at.
Amazing. I mean, like, even identifying those opportunities for you is fantastic, and obviously the way that you assessed schooling and now the schooling has come full circle probably is a testament to the growth of soccer and just the FFA and the quality of the league that I guess has grown over the last decade or so here in Australia. With regards to then, if we fast forward then through your growth, maybe 5-10 years, and then to the start of this year. In specifically related to, I guess, the pandemic and the nature of the business that you run, were there any indicators? At what point did you start to see things were, starting to deteriorate in terms of revenue and bookings, and I guess just the general mindset and the feeling of the atmosphere and the classes that you were running?
Well, ours was, put it this way, if this had happened in January, we wouldn't be sitting here now. It would have been a very different story. So we did get a little bit lucky in terms of that it hit in March. Again, football is a very seasonal business, so you get your bulk of your money coming in late January, early February, and then you've got the payment plans that sort of stretch out through the year. So we were very lucky that in that January, February, early March, that we started getting a lot of the money in that was outstanding. In our other club, we got that in way before. We got that in October, November, December. So. In terms of having a big cash reserve, we were lucky there. When it all started breaking out, it was in January when we first heard about it, and everyone was saying, we'll be fine, and little did we know that we weren't going to be fine. But literally, we were the first ones down. So when everybody else was still having, 2-3 weeks of work, we were gone. We were shut down. I think it was probably the first week of March. I think we were gone, and because the schools shut down immediately, there was no contact with schools. Big groups went down. So in terms of actually losing revenue, we didn't lose revenue as such. What we lost was the revenue moving forward. So we didn't have to refund anybody for the work that we'd already done. We were in a good cash flow position before we started. So we'd literally banked up 10-12 weeks of reserves in cash, and then all of a sudden when it shut down, we'd probably lost about 150 in future earnings. So
quite a significant amount of money to miss out on.
Like on a
business of operational costs, right?
That's right. And not only that, like, if you're going to recoup it, then you can sort of accept it, but that you're not going to recoup it. It's impossible. Like, the schools now going back are talking about a 4-week competition to a 4 to 6 week competition. So whereas before it was a 2-term, it was an 8-week competition, 10-week competition. So it's now we're looking at, how are we going to recoup that lost money? The schools still have it. It's not like they've, the school fees haven't gone down. You're still paying the same. So what we need to be clever and offer what we're offering in 4th term to try and recoup that 150. But again, all you're doing then is recouping that. You're never going to make more. So, you're always going to be behind. But if you take it like that now, then you'll drive yourself crazy. Whereas we turned around and said, all right, let's forget about that. That's done and dusted now. How do we go to the next level? How do we make sure that we can now operate? How do we fix our operation? Do we think that we were running at 100% capacity? Which, when we broke the business down, I don't think we were. I don't think we're anywhere near it. So we broke it down. We had a look at it. We've changed the model on what we believe that should happen now moving forward. Yeah. And for us, it was difficult as well because we let go of about 25 to 30 staff. A lot of those went back to the UK or back overseas. So we're sort of running on a skeleton crew now. What do we got? We've probably got about 14, 15 coaches that are at full operations, which is not too bad considering how much staff we had. And even back then, I don't think our staff were at full capacity, whereas now they're at full capacity. No one's whinging. Everybody's doing the job as we ask it to be done. And I think we give a better product to our customers now as well. I think we were sort of driven to the point at that time that we were getting sucked along with the momentum, and we didn't have time to actually step out of the business and work on the business. We were in it. We couldn't slow it down. We had to run with it and just sort of adapt as we were going. So for the break that we had was probably good for us.
Okay. And you would say that's probably the biggest lesson then from that was just the ability to pivot and to be able to create different models and different versions of the future relatively quickly, to be able to ascertain, all right, well, where do we need to save money? How can we, as you said, how can we plan for a much improved Q4 maybe versus last year where you maybe didn't have the same problems of revenue gaps, early on in the year?
Yeah, 100%. Like last year, although we were the best at what we did. When you look at it now and we've broken the business down, we could have been so much better. When I look back over the 20 years that I've been in this game now, if I had known now at the start, this company would have been so much bigger. Because of the mistakes that we've made and programs that we've done and sort of looked at it. It failed. Why did it fail? We'd only know because it failed. Those kind of mistakes we wouldn't have made, and the good thing about this is that we've had, we're going on to 10, 12 weeks now where we've had time to look at the business and sort of go, right, what if we do this differently? What if we get our staff working across the 2 clubs? Whereas before we'd have designated staff for one club and a designated staff for another club. Whereas now we've decided that we need that staff to work in between both clubs. So that they're getting maximum exposure of all the kids, not just one bunch of kids. Yeah, which is obviously great from a customer perspective. But then internally, I mean, working with Neuro, I imagine this is where, the support of Michele and some of the other staff at the firm have helped you with the support of the different scenarios. Do you know how many different types of scenarios you've kind of ran over the last few months just to really look at the future? Probably looked at maybe 5, 6 different scenarios, how we can operate or what it would look like when we came back. Different events, different concepts of football, like 7-a-side, 9-a-side. What will the restrictions be like? And we're in a position now where we still don't know what the restrictions are going to look like. Our stage 2 restrictions are actually more advanced than stage 3. So you can tell that the government's so far behind, they can't even catch up with the restrictions of what's going on. For me, it's just insane. We got 1 active case in Queensland, and we can't have more than 100 people together. Yet we can go and protest 30,000 down in Brisbane, no reason whatsoever.
It's very, very interesting times, though. The political side of things is taking precedent right at the moment.
100%. So by us not being able to attract any supporters as well, we've sort of missed out one of our major events, which is the Premier Invitational, which had about 130 teams come to it. It gets government backing as well. So plus we have about 5,000 people here a day for 6 days. What we turn over in the canteen and the bar and everything like that, it's huge. So we miss out on that now as well, just because we don't know when the crowds can come back in. Yeah. You can go to school and you'll have 1,000 kids at school and the kids are jumping all over each other. It's not an issue. So there's no rule for one and another rule for another. So that's sort of what we're everyone's sort of whinging about that at the moment. But again, we just got to crack on. We can't sit there moaning about it.
And you said, sorry, Mick, I have to.
Sorry, sure. Yeah, I think Adam, you probably learned from the GFC, back 2011 when things sort of went left and right, what to do. Because I still remember the phone call from you on the Saturday after this sort of thing had just sort of taken over, and you're pretty much going, what do I do now? Where do I go? And the steps that we had to implement. So, I think your taking to social media was a big plus. I think Andy and yourself had a good play at that, getting the social media moving prior to obviously all of this stuff happening, because I think with that you really did cement your place out there in people's eyes, and I think it probably made it easier with that transitional part. I know yourself, like myself, probably not active on Facebook prior to all this, but obviously since that time. You have been there pretty vocal and, got yourself on Channel 9 there as well. So I think, I know you're able to pivot and move pretty quickly, which is a testament to you. And that's where I think going forward, thinking about the next steps, I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just obviously dealing with what we've been handed from governments and then sort of stepping around it.
Yeah, 100%. When we ended up getting shut down, it was having John contact us straight away. We were on the JobKeeper straight away with the tax breaks and everything like that. So we knew that we could get through to a certain point in time. We knew that we were safe getting to there. Then we quickly went into the Zoom session. So we started doing football from the home. So we had coaches on Zoom doing. Danny Morton had the girls program running at 70 girls every session that he was doing on Zoom. I was going down to the club and doing ball work off the wall, and 25 kids were doing smashing balls around their house and that. So we were doing that 3 days a week for each age group, which would be no different to their training sessions. Then when it sort of lifted to, we were doing one-on-one sessions for the parents that lost both jobs. So we were doing that for free. Then we had other ones that were doing, minimum sort of payments for one-on-one sessions, the family of 2. Then we went to 10. We started getting them, PT sessions down the beach. So realistically, although we didn't come into the office and everything, we still kept going. We were doing a lot. We had 7 coaches that were becoming full-time Zoom instructors, and as McKeely says, I'm not one for Facebook, but I ended up dropping 12 kilos during this pandemic and getting back to fitness again. So it actually was pretty good for me. And just having the kids there, we're doing boxing lessons, skipping lessons, the whole lot. It was actually quite fun. You're watching 14-year-olds trying to do boxing, with shadow boxing, and they look like they were trying to slap their sister. It was hilarious. And now we've got the boys back into training. And I said, come on, we'll crack on with a boxing session. They're like, no, I don't want to be seen doing a boxing session in front of other people. But, while it was Zoom and it was one-on-one with the other kids in the other strings, it was fantastic. They had a right buzz.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think that the take on that is you just got to be adaptable. No one knew how long this stuff was going to continue to be an issue for. As you said, with the support of some of the government schemes and tax breaks and stuff that you were, subject to be able to capture, it then gives you, I'm going to call it peace of mind per se, but a little bit of breathing space where you can say, okay, well, we kind of know what's coming in now. We know where we're at. And as you said, you've had a few weeks, months to kind of look at the business model moving forwards. And, by the sounds of it, you potentially created other, avenues that you could maybe even explore outside of football later on down the year. How was it doing the Zoom sessions? Because obviously in a group exercise environment where you've got interaction and, you're there face to face and you're able to watch and correct the kids as their technique maybe needs a bit of work. How was it moving to a Zoom environment where you're then doing one-on-ones? Was it I guess, less enjoyable for you as the business owner? Was it more enjoyable? I know you said that it was pretty fun, but generally having to...
It was one of those ones. It was tough because you've gone away from doing personal and being right on site with them and correcting technique to almost to the point where, some of the kids would put the camera on, but you couldn't see them. So you didn't know if they were playing basketball or actually doing what the exercise that we were meant to do. Yeah. But realistically, why we did it was we were in the fear of, depending on how long this lasted, we would eventually get to a point where parents would ask for refunds. So we would then have to say, well, we can't give you a refund, otherwise this whole place will go down. We need to be able to offer a service that keeps these kids active. And the feedback that we got from the Zoom set, as soon as we started it, the parents were going, thank God, because the kids are going bananas. They were all stuck at home as well. So they were actually looking forward to getting on the Zoom, talking with their mates while the session was going on. So for them, it was a good social as well as the fitness. But what I've noticed now is you can tell the ones that were actually doing it properly to the ones that were just sort of skipping around in the background, not doing it, because you've got the ones that are now super fit and the other ones are dying. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't ideal. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anyone will want to play football by a computer. But, it served its purpose. So it was good.
Awesome. And I think, again, that the honesty, the transparency, but also you, from a business perspective, making sure that your customer satisfaction didn't necessarily drop to a point where, it was going to become a bit of a problem for you. Still being able to provide a service that, people are potentially prepaid for has, I guess, minimized the amount of damage that the top line has taken from your perspective as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Any big learnings that you could share? Because obviously, if you think about gyms, PTs, yoga instructors, there's going to be a lot of people in this similar business model that have been affected in the similar way. And I know Zoom is kind of one of the more common ones that people have used. But any other major learnings that you've taken through that process that you can take forward into, I guess, the landscape of no restrictions as they start to disappear?
Yeah, I dare say honesty. I dare say a lot of us, sometimes try and sugarcoat it to our clients that everything's rosy when if little Johnny's not doing it properly, and we don't want to upset the parents or the clients. And for me, it became to a point there where we had to tell them exactly what was going on, and the reason why was no one expected this to happen, and then all of a sudden parents were sort of going, well, yeah, this is really bad. We've paid good money to be in this program, and the program is not going ahead. So let's say 50% of those people decided to pull their money, well, you're gone. You were dead in the water. But we had parents, sending us emails and letting us know, look, if it all goes belly up, keep our money. It's fine. We'll do it as a donation, and we'll get going again when we get going, because they knew that what we provide is very unique in our industry. Having full-time coaches that actually care about the kids was a big difference to where everyone else was. So the honesty one for me was a big one. And not to say that we were dishonest in the past, but in the past we were sort of we try to accommodate too much. We try and bend over backwards, and if it means appeasing one parent to upset three others, you do it. So like this way, we sort of went, right, here's the new rules that we're going to create. And we don't very often. This is, if Johnny steps out of line, then we put him back on the line. And if he doesn't want to get back on the line, then he has to leave. Simple as. Whereas before, we would try and do everything to try and keep them all happy. And it's impossible. You can never keep everyone happy.
Of course. Good stuff. Now, the future then. As you said, the restrictions are very slowly starting to release. There's obviously protests going on, and maybe the social distance and guidelines isn't necessarily being adhered to. So you would assume that in the next few weeks, give or take, hopefully things can slowly go back to normal. What does that look like for you guys as a business looking forward to the end of the calendar year?
Well, now we're putting together all the events that we've missed out on. So what we've got to do now is we've got to sort of look at what people can afford, what's our new business model moving forward. I spoke with John and Nikili about, we used to do all our fees in a one hit. So we're going to go to monthly fees now, start it earlier and run it over 10-month payment plans instead of trying to get, huge amounts of dollars out of people at the start of the year. And football's a real strange beast in itself, because it's the worst time to pay people, to ask people for money. You're trying to get money in January and February. They've just done Christmas. They've got rates. They've got their mortgages. Every bill under the sun comes in at that January, school fees, the whole lot. So, and then to throw money into football as well, it becomes crazy. So for us now, I'll be tomorrow starting to do some videos for all our parents and put them through what 2021 will look like, in terms of payments, in terms of the kids' training, in terms of what the games are going to look like, in terms of what they're going to get for value for money, even in terms of what COVID-19 at this minute looks like till the end of the year, with the restrictions, with the sanitising, with all that kind of stuff that we have to do. So, just that lot of information that needs to go out, but it needs to be clear and precise, that we get that information out correctly.
Adam, just a quick question, just to cut in. The whole safety guideline, right? So let's just argue for a second. We've got an under 11 team, and they go out and play a game against each other. They can't tackle each other, correct?
Yeah, they can't. There's no contact at the moment.
So how do you actually play? How do you play football?
Well, we do shadow play. So we have kids that you can put pressure on, but you can't tackle. So you can intercept.
Yep.
You can intercept, but we just don't have any tackling. So, those restrictions will lift if it carries on July the 12th, and then you can go into tackling.
But so if another player's got the ball, like say one team's got the ball for 5 minutes, the other team hasn't been able to get it, are they supposed to just stop and then give the ball to the other team? Is that the process?
We're a bit more inventive than letting one team keep the ball for 5 minutes. So we take it down to a 2-touch rule, so they've got to keep moving it, they've got to keep passing it. If you're dribbling, dribble to a certain section, then you got to pass. So there's instruments in there that you can manipulate it, the session, to make sure the ball's moving at all times. But the crazy thing is, if I took my kids over to the school across the road, I could be into full contact, because the schools are exempt from the rules, and apparently
that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Well, hopefully, keep pushing by, you get some change there happen.
Oh yeah, the changes will come.
Yeah. And do you see that as the biggest challenge at the moment, is managing the safety restrictions and the guidelines imposed by the government versus kind of getting the business back to where it was, or do you feel like the gaps in some of the events and the timetables that you should have run before this happened, squeezing that into before the end of the year, which would you see as the bigger challenge for you at the moment?
I think getting the events back up and going, they're the biggest one, because now, where you're getting an extra $85 a player to play in massive events, parents, reluctantly going, I'm not sure if I can afford another $85 and all that kind of stuff. So that's it. The safety part of it, look, for me, I don't understand how the kids are picking up Corona if there's no Corona. I'm not carrying it in my pocket and I'm not passing it on. So I'm just, and I get the fact that there's a lot of fear mongering going on and all that, but what have we? 105 deaths. We've had more than that in the flu season. We get more than that in cancer. We don't stop people smoking. So it's been a strange one, really. Yeah. And look, the fact that people have died is terrible, but I'm sure that we could have isolated a bit better than what we did.
Sure, I agree. Now, with regards to the ongoing management of the business, then it sounds like you're heavily involved in a lot of the analytics and the analysis. Adam specifically, is that something you manage with the support of Muro behind the scenes with John and McKelly and some of the other guys there?
Yeah, my big one was just making sure that I knew where I was 3 months in advance. I needed to know, and because our calendar year doesn't run like a tax year, I struggled for 18 years, McKeely, so I'm trying to work out why I was losing money and going, well, hold on, my bank account doesn't say that, and yet you're telling me I'm losing because we're going from July to July, but I work from January to December.
Yeah.
So, and because of the way money comes in at football, when the financial year's over, I haven't had an income for about 4 months. Whereas as soon as July kicks over, I got income flying in through the door again. So that was a tough one for me. So then when the boys brought on John, he sort of grasped that straight away, that's how my thought process went. So he was able to come to me and go, well, this is what you're looking like in 3 months' time. This is where you'll be, on how the current money's coming in, and this is where you'll be in 3 months' time, which was perfect. And then we got the ATO and all the GST and all that kind of stuff sorted with the supers, and so that was all coming out weekly. So instead of it building up, and and Keely will tell you, I can't. It drives me insane to pay someone $6,000-7,000 in a quarter. I'd be like, nah. So now everything goes out weekly, and I barely miss it. So I know that it's coming out, but it's better coming out like that than hitting me in the quarter and me sitting there going, well, what on earth am I paying for now?
Yeah. Especially if you, as you said, the way that you might look to manage subscriptions now in the future, which is probably going to be more of a monthly recurring subscription model as opposed to a big lump sum at the start of the year. That's also going to help really balance the kind of the cash flow management within the business.
Yeah, that's right.
Coming in and going out,
Yeah, massively. And that's where stepped up and done a great job.
What about the continual Zoom stuff, Adam? Are you going to continue going down that path with making that as part of the subscription with the training place as well, or?
Not really. It's Zoom was great for when everyone was locked down. Now that everyone's sort of coming out of hibernation, they all want that personal contact again, which is where we sort of flourish on, because we're a people skills business. And customers attract new customers, and word of mouth is massive for us. So, whereas a lot of people go, "Oh, Facebook's great for our business," I've seen Facebook and gone, "All right, then, am I really buying anything off Facebook?" I guess I'm a dinosaur in terms of buying online and things like that, and I just don't do it. I need to go to the shop and feel the product and do that. But you got the new generation coming through. They're happy to do computer and shop online, all that kind of stuff. Whereas I just don't do it. So in our business with football, I don't think football's changed a hell of a lot from the conception of it to now. I think, we've got quicker. Are we doing something different, better than, are we doing anything different to what they did 25 years ago? Probably not. We're just doing it better. That's all. So we're not reinventing the wheel. No one's coming out of here going, "Oh, look, I've designed this session that no one's seen before."
Yep. Well, there might be opportunities down the track though to actually embed some of those sort of strategies sessions, like on a weekly basis with kids in groups. I don't know. Look, it said this whole coronavirus thing is, I put it down to call it the innovation virus, because ultimately you've had to rethink the way you do things. So it'd be crazy to sort of overlook some of those things too and just go, well, it is what it is. I think there are some opportunities, but obviously it's got to go out to your members there and get feedback and see what comes of it.
Yeah, 100%.
I think being active and that regular communication, whether it's a video to address the new lay of the land, to communicate how the value is going to still come for the customers and the parents and the schools and everyone else that's kind of paying you to do the things that you do. And I think that is probably one of the biggest things you can continue to do in any medium, whether it's a Facebook live stream or if it is a Zoom video where you send out a newsletter and invite people to join it, record it, and then a bit like today's session. And I feel like even last week, the webinar I did, the communication with customers is key to stay relevant and to make sure that your business isn't, going to very, very quickly continue to deteriorate as things start to get better. And it sounds like you've kind of been all over that, which is probably why, you're now kind of gearing up for phase 2 of the kind of lockdown and restrictions.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Well, look, I think there's some really, really great tips in there. Obviously, we're in relation to the type of business that you run, where it is very much a one-to-many, it's group sessions, it's interaction, and there's lots of types of individuals or businesses who run similar businesses, not necessarily related to the running of a football club. But is there any advice that you could give? 3 things that you wish you did or knew before this kind of happened, or things that you've kind of had to start to consider to do as a business owner, more so as a coach. And then I guess for anybody else running similar style business.
Yeah, I think just to be ready, I think we take it for granted that everything's going to be rosy the whole time. I know on the Gold Coast especially is, we're a market that's driven from self-employed people and successful people, but as soon as something like this happens, you can see how quickly everyone shuts down. They've probably got 3 weeks where they can survive. I was always one that I wanted to be at least have 90 days survival mode if everything went pair up. So that was probably my key. Number two was the communication with our customers. You know, I think if you've got a real good communication base and talking to them all the time and feeding them information, they'll understand where you're at, even if they were in the same situation as we were. You know, we had one customer, client, friend who their electrical, she got laid off and their electrical business went to running on 25%. So, you know, they were hurting just as much as we were, if not worse. And so I just turned around and said, look, come and do these sessions for free if that helps out. And that's all that was needed. You know, just a little bit of help, little bit of reach out and give them a hand. That was enough to get them on side. And that goodwill will come back to us tenfold. Mm. And then the third one, I should have bought Afterpay when I was $8.90.
Yeah, it's gone up quite significantly. I've seen that myself.
Oh yeah, it's going crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. You know, Adam, and the communication is paramount. You know, like that's one of the things. As soon as COVID hit, Kanye and myself obviously jumped to online media to get information out there, because you know information is key. I mean, they say cash is king. Information is critical, and I think you need those two recipes to have a successful business. So, you know, again, Adam, yeah, hat off to you, mate. I know things will get better and go back to normal, but obviously we have to step through a few of these hoops still between now and Christmas. So let's keep the tight ship going. Stuart, thanks for having us on today, mate. I appreciate that. And
thanks to you both. Really, really insightful. And I guess just to summarise for everybody, I feel like communication with customer base is key here. You know, one of the biggest takeaways, making sure you've got, you know, at least 3 to 4 months visibility over the future of your business, with multiple versions of the future, which allow you to scenario plan and you know, worst case, here's where we're at, best case, here's where we're at, and at least you've got an understanding of, you know, some decisions that you can make, whether it's an investment into some capital expenditure, marketing, or not, because actually you don't have the money just quite yet. So look, thank you very much for you both. I'm just going to open the questions out to anybody who's joined us today who maybe has specific questions for me or for the two, before I do let everyone get back to their day. Wonderful. Well, look, obviously we answered all the questions then, I take it. So thank you everyone for joining us. I really, really appreciate your time. Again, Adam, Kelly, thank you very much. Really, really, really appreciative of your time and your support on this. Best of luck to you both, of course, moving forward with lockdown restrictions. And yeah, look, I'm sure I'll catch up with you guys soon. And for everyone else who joined us today, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers, gentlemen.